Hey guys, James with TFBTV. Today on TFBTV, I wanted to talk to you about 5 kind of offbeat revolvers that are, in my opinion, suitable for concealed carry. As a side note, I almost exclusively carry auto-loading pistols now. For the same reason we don't treat chlamydia with Jack Daniels anymore, we don't carry revolvers as much as we used to. But just like bourbon, wheel guns aren't going anywhere, at least not anytime soon. Revolvers aren't completely outdated, and I'll skip all the well-known reasons I've gone over in past videos why someone might want to carry a revolver over, say, an autoloader, but there are a couple of good reasons to stick with this old staple. Interestingly enough, it seems that revolver technology has been advancing about as rapidly as their more popular auto-loading counterparts, so there are some pretty attractive options worth carrying. One of these I in fact carried today, the Smith Wesson 340 PD. Yes, this is a 5-shot 38 357 J-frame, tiny double-action only revolver. Not exactly a very controversial pick, right? Well, it's not an unusual firearm either. Its claim to fame is that it's literally the lightest 357 Magnum ever made. This is accomplished through the use of high-tech and expensive alloys. The frame's made out of adamantium. That's right, the same thing Wolverine skeleton's made out of. Very light, very rigid. The cylinder is made out of mythril, which glows a very soft blue whenever orcs are nearby. Okay, none of that was true, but it's not as fun to say that the frame's made out of scandium and the cylinder is made out of titanium. Strong, light, high-tech materials that allow this gun to weigh a mere 13 ounces, less than a pound. But you can jam up this pocket rocket with up to 5 rounds of 357 Magnum or 38 Special. It also has a very nice front fiber optic sight that really grabs your attention. It's just a well thought out carry piece. And I hear you already, but James, why would I want to literally rape my own hands by shooting one of the most powerful common handgun cartridges out of a gun that weighs as much as a large banana? Woo! Well, first of all, I don't appreciate your tone, and I also don't like the imagery, so save that kind of stuff for the Hickok 45 comment section. I know that gets pretty out of control. Listen, I'm not telling you to take this thing to the range every day. In fact, it's a bad idea. You could probably shoot this thing apart pretty quickly and develop a nasty flinch if you did that. What I'm saying is that this thing is a breeze to carry. This isn't going to be my first choice for my take it to Mordor gun, but it does slide very easily into a jacket or even a pants pocket for a jaunt down the street to get a 6-pack, and you'll almost completely forget that you have it on. Hell, I carried one today for that exact reason. That also kind of emphasizes one of those revolver advantages. You can dump a cylinder from inside of a jacket pocket with decent close range accuracy. All right, here goes nothing. I wouldn't try that with a semi-auto. In fact, I have tried it before and it doesn't work. This gun's a little bit pricey with an MSRP of over $1,000, but it's made out of Wolverine's bone, so I don't know what you want. True TFBTV vets know that the number 4 slot is my controversial slot. No one likes a list to lead in with like a wild-ass pick, but a controversial pick should never be in the top 3, so here we are at number 4, and I'm going to make a scandalous declaration and say that 10mm is the new 357 Magnum. See our Why the 10mm revolver is a great idea video from a couple years ago for a more detailed explanation. But in short, while 357 and 10mm have a lot of performance overlap, 10mm is capable of generally shooting a larger bullet faster, and generally it has a broader grain weight range. And while 357 Magnum is attractive because you can carry a 357 and hit the range with a 38, you can do the same thing with a 10mm and its little brother, the 40 S&W. We don't see 10mm all that often in revolvers because 10mm is a rimless cartridge optimized for autoloaders, while the 357 is a rimmed cartridge made for revolvers. To put it in terms that you might understand, 357 Magnum looks kind of like a tall cowboy hat, and that cowboy hat keeps it from falling through the revolver's chambers. Thus, rimless cartridges typically have to use what are called moon clips, or as I like to call them, moon magazines. These little pieces of metal hold all of the rounds together and they prevent them from sliding through the cylinder. It might sound like a pain in the ass, but it's quite the opposite. And pay attention, because you're going to notice a theme in this video. Moon clips are great. They act like speed loaders. You can load and unload all of your rounds with one quick motion. That's why Jerry Michalek used a moon clip Smith & Wesson 625 and 45 ACP to set that world record where he shot 6 shots, reloaded, shot another 6 in under 3 seconds. Rimless cartridges could be good for revolvers. So cutting to the chase, I want a 10mm on this list. I want to have the option to load up a revolver with 135 grain rounds that'll get damn near 1,600 feet per second for personal defense, or 220 grain hard cast for grizzly defense if you're going to be out in, say, the Alaska backcountry. There aren't a lot of 10mm revolver options out there, so my pick would probably be the Ruger GP100 Standard. It's the smallest 10mm revolver I could find out there, but it still weighs a hefty 35 ounces, or 2.5 Smith & Wesson 340 PDs. That's still lighter than most steel frame 1911s though. The upside of all that extra chunk means that the robust GP100 handles even hot 10mm, smoother than Kenny G at a bottomless mimosa brunch with your mom, and it locks up tighter than bark in a tree with a triple locking cylinder. It's got sights that are so ideal for CCW, they almost seem out of place on a revolver like this. They've got a fiber optic front sight with Novak no snag rear sights that some consider to be the gold standard for carry. You can expect ballistics from a 3-inch GP100 to be about the same as a 4-inch 10mm auto because, as we all know, the chamber's not included in barrel measurements for revolvers, while it is included in barrel length for autos. I gotta make a quick comment about the grips. They're comfy black rubber with plenty of bounce, but as a confusing homage to the boomer roots of the revolver, they also have checkered wood inserts. Smith & Wesson will either go all rubber or all wood, so this is kind of a curious hybrid that Ruger has been using for a little while. And as Ben Franklin famously said, those who give up utility for hot fashion deserve neither. I'm breaking balls here. They actually don't look all that bad and they're really comfortable to shoot, but it's just kind of a weird thing that seems to be unique to Ruger revolvers. The GP100 is, of course, all steel, and it maintains a slim profile with a standard 6-round cylinder. Ruger's button cylinder release is probably the best out of any gun on this list, and between that and the moon clips, shooting and manipulating this cruiserweight powerhouse is pretty easy. For my number 3, if you said to me, James, I really like your number 2 pick, but can I get something that's easier to shoot, smaller, lighter, more expensive, and with a little bit extra capacity? To which I would say, wow, that's a very specific question, and I don't know why you would want to spend more money, but fortunately, I can recommend the Smith & Wesson 986 Performance Center. This one's kind of wild, so bear with me, and here's an industry pro tip. Performance Center is Smith & Wessonese for costs over $1,000. The gist of the 986 is that it's an easy shooting 9mm that will give you performance between 38 and 357 while dishing an extra round of capacity. The 986 holds 7 rounds in an unfluted titanium cylinder. Because 9mm is rimless, you get some quick reloads with the moon clips that I've been going on about in this video, but notice what happens in this clip right here. I had several failures to fire because of a bent moon clip. So if you're going to carry with moon magazines, make sure that they're fresh, flat, and that you separate your range, like beat up, use all the time moon clips, and your carry moon clips, like your fresh, new ones. Because it has a titanium cylinder, this 9mm weighs 31 ounces even though it uses an all stainless steel frame. Honestly, I'd love to see this gun like murdered out with an aluminum frame, lightweight version, maybe scandium, with some sick-ass black low-profile synthetic grips and a front night sight, because as it stands, this gun is kind of half-in, half-out rope push between competition and concealed. It's a gun with a compact profile, a stubby barrel, and a lightweight cylinder, but with a bulky steel frame. That said, it handles 9mm very easily, and it has one of the best double-action triggers I've ever felt in a revolver. I'm not even kidding. Don't even try blind taste testing this with any other revolver, double-action, single-action revolver, because it's pointless. The Performance Center trigger is so smooth in double-action, and the single-action trigger breaks like a crack pipe. It's almost like these Smith & Wesson guys know how to build a revolver. Oh, not to mention the unfluted titanium cylinder and the full underlug slab-sided barrel has so much cyberpunk drip that replicants start to sweat as soon as they see the 986. This pick's definitely the oddest of the bunch because making a compact steel frame gun is kind of the same as putting a Tacoma bed on an F-350 cab and calling it a compact truck. But it's still worth a look because of that extra round, the extra performance, and pure aesthetic. And for number 2, you guys are gonna see me lean on an old friend of mine, the Chiappa Rhino, and for good reason. I don't know why, but the Chiappa Rhino video, the review I did a couple of years ago, it's one of our most popular straight up reviews ever with over 2 million views. Maybe you guys are just closet Chiappists, Rhino curious, but the videos are so popular for a design that's really unconventional. The Rhino's deal is that it fires from the bottom chamber of the cylinder. Unlike autoloaders, there isn't a hunk of metal in a revolver that needs to travel backwards and forwards in order to cycle the action of a revolver. So that means the Chiappa can have a barrel essentially in line with the shooter's trigger finger instead of over it. Low bore axis means low recoil, and boy, does it ever really work. Shooting this gun with 357 legitimately feels like shooting 38 from any other revolver. Additionally, the Rhino's a good revolver by any measure. It's compact. The 2-inch model weighs a respectable 25 ounces. Not quite comparable to the 340 PD, but the use of aluminum and steel is going to make it lighter weight, but also less expensive. MSRP is still about $1,000, but I see them on sale all the time between $600 and $700. It holds 6 rounds of 357 or 38. It's got a flat profile that looks good, carries well. It's got great high-vis fiber optic front sights, gutter rear sights that don't snag easily on close, and a great double action or single action trigger. Ergos and controls are pretty good also. I'm honestly surprised I don't encounter this gun more often in the wild. It's a little rare, you know, like a Rhino. Every time I do a video about the Rhino, I do get some comments expressing concern about how complex the Rhino is. It's slightly more complicated than a traditional revolver by necessity because of its design, but my experience with mine has been good, and I've had it for about 5 years now. Now for my number 1. Imagine the ultralight Smith Wesson 340 PD, except for adults. Like the same gun, but with a bigger frame, an exposed hammer for double action or single action shooting, and a whopping 8-round capacity of 357 or 38. If you've been watching TFBTV lately, you know where I'm going already. Perhaps my top pick altogether for CCW revolvers, the Smith Wesson 327. I made a video a few months ago asking, is this the best concealed carry revolver on the market? And I think it is. The gun's popular among the revolver crowd because of its unusually high capacity of 8. It's lightweight with a titanium cylinder and barrel. It's got the scandium frame like you heard about with the 340 PD, and the fact that it retains a decent degree of accuracy and shootability in spite of its featherweight construction makes it a crowd pleaser. At 21 ounces, it's a half-pound heavier than the 340 PD, but again, 60% greater capacity, and a frame that's easier to grip and rip without magnums flinging the piece over your right shoulder. Plus, especially with the Secret Service style thin grips, it's almost pocketable. Perhaps the only downgrade here is the orange front ramp sight, which is in my opinion inferior to the fiber optic sight used by the 340 PD, the GP100, and the Rhino, which all have excellent sights. If you thought I was going to make it through this video without mentioning moon clips one more time, think again. Even though the 327 uses rimmed cartridges, 357 or 38, and it doesn't need to use moon clips, it's compatible with moon clips, which is kind of a cool feature. Something to consider because of the unusually fat size of this 8-round cylinder, conventional speed strips, speed loaders aren't going to work, so it's nice to have an out-of-the-box option, moon clips, for speed reloading. The most expensive gun on this list, this stubby has a not so stubby MSRP of $1,344. And by the way, if you're keeping score, the 340 PD has a $1,019 MSRP. The 986 will set you back $1,129 MSRP. The Rhino lists for $1,082. And at $1,300 for the 327, the GP100 looks like an absolute steal. That was a pun. At $769. Guys, this is a top 5 weird revolvers list, not a top 5 cheap piece of shit revolvers. Get off me. Well, that's all I got for you today. Thanks a ton for watching, guys. It really does mean a lot to me, as do our sponsors, Ventura Munitions and Top Gun Supply, your online shooting sports superstore. If you like the program, subscribe. If you really like the program, consider supporting us. We are viewer supported. Patreon.com/TFBTV or subscribestar.com/TFBTV. It really helps us out. But I'm just thrilled you're watching. Take care.